Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome in the NIO EL6. Now, in China this car has a different name. In China this car is called the ES6, but Audi has prohibited NIO to call this car that exact name here in Europe, because according to Audi that sounds a little bit too much like the S6. So NIO has to call this car the EL6. Now the EL6, what are we talking about? This car is a compact car. It's not really that compact. It's just about the size as BMW X3. I think even a little bit bigger, to be honest. It's a little bit bigger than a Mercedes EQE and just a little bit smaller than a Mercedes EQC. So it's quite a big car, I would say, and it's a pretty broad car, especially here in Europe. You can really notice that the car is pretty broad. You really have to make room for other cars if you're driving on narrow roads like I'm doing right now. Now this is the fifth car that NIO is introducing here in Europe. It all started like a year ago. In 2022 they introduced the ET7, a big sedan like the Model 3 from Tesla, or like a BMW i5, or almost like a BMW i7. Then they introduced the ET5, which is like a competitor to the Tesla Model 3, so it's a sports sedan. And then they introduced the EL7, which is the bigger brother of this car, so that is also an SUV. And recently they introduced the ET5 Touring, which is the estate version of the ET5 sedan. And like I said, this car is the smaller brother of the EL7, but again, this car is still pretty big. The backseat area is pretty spacious. And you also get a lot of comfort in the backseat area. You even get a small screen here in the back as well, where you can set the temperature, for example. Now here up front, you also get a lot of comfort and a lot of technology. You get a big center infotainment screen that looks a little bit like the screen that you get in a Tesla. Basically, the entire setup is a little bit Tesla-like, which is not uncommon for modern Chinese EVs. They all look a little bit like Teslas on the interior, and this NIO is no exception. In front of you, you do get a digital gauge cluster, which is something you cannot get in a Tesla Model 3. Something else that you cannot get in a Tesla Model 3 is NoMe. It's a little bit like a Tamagotchi. It's like a robot that you can talk to. It's like your personal assistant in this car. Now, it's a little bit childish, but I actually really like it. I think it's kind of funny. You can have long conversations with NoMe if you like to do that, but you can also tell her to shut up. And you can even choose to not get this option, to remove it entirely from the car. Then let's talk drivetrains. There are two drivetrains available for this car. You either go for a small battery pack, giving this car a range of just a little bit over 400 kilometers of range. And that battery has a capacity of 75 kilowatt hours. And if you go for the bigger battery pack, you get 100 kilowatt hours of capacity, giving the car a range of 530 kilometers. Now the power output is the same for both versions. So either if you go for the small or the bigger battery pack, whatever you do, you'll always get two electric motors, one in the front, one in the rear, producing 500 horsepower. Meaning this is a pretty fast car. This car will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in only 4.5 seconds. There are there are 5 drive modes on this car. If you put the car in Sport Plus, this car will do 0 to 100 in 4.5 seconds. If you put the car in regular Sport mode, the car will do 0 to 100 in 5.9 seconds, which I think is a lot more suitable for a comfortable car like this. Now the car doesn't have adaptive suspension, it does have adaptive dampers, and if you put the car in Sport mode, you can really notice the difference between comfort mode and Sport mode. And overall the car is just very luxurious. I got 23 speakers in the cabin, I've got air cushions in the back seats, and you can even get something like a lounge seat next to me for your co-pilot. And so overall I just really like the interior here. It is actually one of my more favorite interiors in a car that you can get at this moment. Now the car also has a lot of self-help driving systems. You can even see them because they are located on top on the roof here. Just on the front end of the roof you can see cameras on both sides, and there's a big LiDAR sensor in the middle. Now I have to say that assistance systems aren't better than any other systems from competitors, which I'm always a little bit surprised by when I'm driving a NIO, because you got all these massive sensors on top of the car, but the systems aren't better than regular cameras on regular cars. No, I'm not saying the self-help drive systems are terrible, because they're not. They're just as good as any other system from any other competitor. But again, because you got these massive sensors, I expect the system to be a little bit better than the systems in competitor cars. So that is my quick review on the NIO EL6. Pricing starts around 68,000 euros, at least here in the Netherlands. Pricing may differ in your country. And that is including the battery, but NIO prefers if you get a subscription to their cars, then you have to pay around 56,000 euros, and then you have to rent the battery every month. And a small battery pack starts at around 170 euros a month, and a bigger battery pack starts at around 290 euros a month. And so that's it for this video. I'm gonna try to maneuver this pretty wide car in a insanely narrow Dutch street. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. And then I'll see you guys in the next one.